Welcome to What the Fit, a podcast about what it means to be fit, whatever the fuck that means to you.
That's great. I love it.
Thank you.
Hi, Chaske.
Hi, Christelle. It's good to be here.
It's so good to have you here.
I am here to interview you per the traditions of the anniversary episode.
Yes, it is the 8-year anniversary episode. I was thinking back, I was like, I love having traditions. I love traditions in general. Mm-hmm. And this is one tradition of the podcast that obviously has stood for all 8 years. And it's my favorite part. I love it.
Have you been doing it since the very beginning?
Yes, since year one. So the story of the anniversary year episode, for those that are maybe new listeners, every year on the anniversary of the podcast, which it came out the first week of July. And so we just now, it's the first week of July. We're not too worried about the exact date around here.
Sure.
But I have someone that has been really influential in my life or really close to me in my life, knows a version of me that maybe isn't public and seen, particular to that year, someone that
sure.
I feel connected to in that way. And so for this year, here you are, which we will
right.
get to you. But it was that within that first year, I was out to lunch with a couple of the fitness girlies of the time. And one of them said, why doesn't anyone interview you?
Yeah.
We would love to kind of flip the script, switch it up. And I was like, okay, well, let's just do that for the year anniversary. So we've had that tradition ever since. And so here we
Wonderful.
are with you. And people may be like, who is this person?
Sure. Well, my name is Chaske, and obviously you know that, but we've kind of known each other for a little while, and I think that there was perhaps a curiosity at some point in time as I was exploring my own work and kind of thinking of connecting with cool people, that I thought of you and your work with this podcast. And I don't think that I ever aspired to be a podcaster, but I definitely wanted to chat with somebody about it, somebody who'd kind of done it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of provided some of the early inspiration to connect with you, and some of those conversations led us on kind of an organic path to sitting across from you in the chair right now, interviewing you. So
exactly. You are the one responsible for the brilliant, beautiful, amazing video content that we now have. And yeah, I think that we were developing our friendship at such an interesting time for both of us. I think we were both in our lives going through different sorts of transition.
Sure.
And I don't know, it felt really serendipitous that we kind of came together at the time that we did. And I was expressing to you, I had just been laid off, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? And we'd have coffee, and I was like, okay, I think I want to go full time with this. And you are an artist yourself, and so talented.
Thank you.
Was like, I might be able to help with that.
Yeah, a good fit. And to your point, as an artist, I was coming off of working on Blink in 2024, and I think really kind of feeling that energy of inspiration to kind of continue to connect with people that are doing really creative and inspiring work, which led us to kind of conversing. And I think that it was also just a moment of kind of reflection for me to kind of think about, what is the road forward and what do I want to do? Having a background in video production, though not actively kind of really doing as much of that now, felt really to your point, serendipitous kind of connection to be like, well, I'm doing a podcast, and where do you think the next step's going to be for me? And then just to really feel like that was a good fit. So,
for sure.
Yeah, we kind of hit the ground running 18 months ago or so.
Yes, exactly. And I'm just so grateful for you. I think there are
thank you.
2 people, really, no, I would say three people that I think oh my God, this podcast really, really, really could not be possible without them throughout the years. And you are definitely one of them. Andy is another one who started the podcast with me, and then Savvy, who did so much of my sound stuff when we were audio. I just it truly would not be possible without all the help that I got there. So I'm just so grateful.
Well, I can appreciate that. One, you're welcome, and it's been wonderful to kind of work together, and I think to kind of build a brand or build off of it, to kind of breathe life into it, and how does it move and how does it look. And I think those are always really fun conversations for me to have as a creative individual, talking with somebody else and trying to help them bring their vision to life. That was all really enjoyable. And I think, how long have we been doing video now? For about a year?
For about a year. Because with the first video we released was the 7-year anniversary episode.
Wild.
I know, it's crazy. It's been a crazy year. And so you, of all people, have been in this content.
True.
Probably even more than I have.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I guess being sidecar to the episode, shooting them and then editing them afterwards.
Yeah. And, you know, I obviously spend a lot of time into clipping, and I like get so sick of myself and all of that. But, you know, if there's one other person that's in it as much, it's definitely you. And so that's why this year I was like, I would love to have you come on. And, you know, we were talking about what we kind of want the episode to look like. And I don't know why, but it really just came up of like a performance review.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I was just like, I want to know, you know, what went well, what could have gone better, what are we doing in the future?
Right.
And there's no one else to give me a performance review.
Well, I am here to run down the checklist with you.
All right. So let's go. Let's get into it. 8 years.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, like, I'm always kind of trying to honor your vision, you know, to kind of make sure that you're doing and achieving the things that you want to, having the conversations that you want to have and sharing what you need to. I guess something that I had reflected on is just like how you felt that transition has gone, and going from a purely auditory podcast into one that has both a visual element to it as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The transition to video was, I knew that it was going to be challenging. I knew that it was going to be different than just audio. And I don't know if I maybe just didn't realize like how different, but it's interesting because I had a very similar experience when I released like the first episode of when it was just audio, like the first ever episode. I, you know, would listen back, and when I first started, I would listen back to the episodes probably like 3 or 4 times before I would even put them out. Yeah. You know, I was like, I couldn't wait to get the audio file back. Like I was just like so into it.
Right.
And, you know, that first time I heard my voice and I was just like, oh gosh, like how am I going to do this?
Right.
Like, do I sound like that? You know, like,
is that really me?
Right. Like, I think that's kind of natural for everyone. And so then when I first got on video, it was that same experience of like, oh my God, is that what I look like?
Right.
How am I going to be able to do this week after week? How am I going to be able to watch myself?
Subject myself to this.
Yes. And with the audio, it was a much shorter time to recover from that initial like repulsion. With video, it took, I wish I could remember, but I think it was probably like a couple months maybe.
Yeah.
But I just like arrived at this place where I was like, okay, I can look at myself. Yeah. You know, like,
no, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So it was tough. And then it's just like, I feel sometimes, and I had this experience because I recorded an audio only episode not too long ago about my brother who passed away, what had been his 34th birthday. And I felt it was so much easier for me to do that episode without being on camera.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, how quickly what seemed like the job becomes something that seems very easy with this kind of additional thing that you've now had to navigate and consider for a whole year. Yeah.
I feel good now. I really do. Like, I feel, you probably can tell too, like I'm much more comfortable sitting down and just like getting into it, as with anything, you just get practice. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to move to video to begin with was I just knew that it would help with exposure, and it has. Like my Spotify Wrapped for creators, and it was like an 850% increase in audience from the video.
It's so cool.
Like, yeah, so it's like I wanted to do this to you know, bring more people into this community and more people into the space, and to more people to hear these people's stories and all that. And so like it's working, which is encouraging.
For sure. And I think, you know, you kind of lock on to anything that shows that you're doing a good job and you're improving and people are resonating with it. Yeah. I think that there's kind of like a 2-part quality to this question. The first being, you know, what does it feel like to be running an independent podcast in 2026? You know, and basically to be like, you've been doing this for a while now, and have been kind of through the ebbs and the flows. Yeah. You're still doing it, and you're, you know, fighting the good fight and resilient. Like, how does that feel to continue to be able to do the thing?
I think that it's like this year, and probably just in like the second part of like my like year 7, that I feel like there's just like this really growing momentum of podcasts in Cincinnati, which is so cool. Like, I love to see it. It felt like for a while, like, there was like a couple that popped up with COVID, you know, as it did, and, you know, people run their season, run their course, and move on. And it did feel for like quite a stretch of time that like there wasn't really any activity popping at all. And now it's like, you know, I'm really excited for like this year coming up. I want to do a lot more work with like local independent podcasters. Super and cool. Like just like I think about, there are networks and communities out there for influencers, for photographers, for videographers, like, every kind of like craft has a community. And I don't think there's really a space, kind of like a designated space and community for like podcasting here yet. So I really want to like work with, some of my other peers in the space and just like bring us together. I think it would be fun and cool.
I think that's really neat. And it kind of made me think of another question I was going to ask you, which is just over the course of this journey, and you kind of touched on it there. How have you thought about like programming and content for this? How has that evolved as you've gone, both from a personal standpoint of what, you're into, what you want to talk about, but also I guess as you're kind of shifting media forms also, do those things combine at all?
Yeah.
And how does that go?
That's such a good question.
Thank you.
That's really good. That's really good. Cause I did want to talk about that because, I think like last year I kind of kicked this off with the 7-year anniversary episode, and it was really kind of this like revelation of like, hey guys, this is a grief podcast,
right? And
it's designed and kind of like set up to make you think we're talking about fitness, right. But like here we are, switch, like yeah, exactly. And reflecting on like the programming and the content of last year, I think that I did a really good job of like bringing forth those like different sorts of grief stories, or even like finding the light of grief in maybe stories that wouldn't necessarily on the surface appear to be about grief.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the content that we had this year. And now as I'm like, thinking about next year and kind of like what, those themes will continue to be and how to like weave in and out, I want to definitely continue this theme that we've had around just like transition and grief being transition and people's different life transitions and shedding identities and bringing new identities forward. And I think one like a tangent that I'm going to want to go on for a while and talk to a variety of different people about is this like loss of identity when it comes to fitness for me, like physical fitness.
Totally.
And how I just really kind of like always positioned myself and thought of myself as someone who's like, I work out.
Right.
I like, that is a part of who I am. I will never miss. Yep. I have interwoven it into my lifestyle and my form and like the very core.
And I've heard those stories
of who I am.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. How do I work out?
Right.
And, I've talked about this past year. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped working out in kind of that like uniformed way. I will say that like, obviously I have that physical job. I'm like walking still. There are certain parts it wasn't like I was just like,
there's a physicality.
There's a physicality, but the way that I worked out and the way that I knew myself to be in the space of the gym, I just kind of like let that go. And, there's a variety of reasons. One, just like managing the new schedule, dealing with an injury, like, a variety of factors. But also I think the deeper part for me was like, let's figure out who I am without that. Can I even stand myself? Can other people, I don't know,
absolutely.
Like just let it go to see where it was. Always with the thought of like, I love to work out. I started this podcast because I love to work out.
Right.
And that hasn't changed. I think what really I needed to like look at was my approach, my intention behind it, my goal with it.
Right.
And so now as I'm like restarting kind of this season of my lifelong fitness journey, I want to continue to talk to people just kind of about their experience with that. Because I think many people will feel that, especially many women, as we are starting to like get to a certain age too, like, can we work out like we did in our 20s?
Right.
Do we want to? Do we have the capacity? Is it useful to us anymore? All of those kind of questions.
Right.
I kind of want to
start
to dig in.
It's interesting. I think working out and fitness has like a utility to it, that it's actually benefiting your body and your health.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting thing to talk about. One of the things that is curious about what you're describing is kind of the overarching idea of like the kind of evolving people that we are and perhaps like the interests that we have, how we kind of weave those into our identity, both as people know us as that person and also kind of how we project ourselves.
Yep.
And kind of finding peace or kind of an understanding with that process.
Yeah,
and to kind of, because I remember meeting you for the first time and definitely thinking of you as heavily fitness like influenced, and part of that I think was just like the way you presented yourself and just kind of the person that you were publicly. And so I like the idea of kind of digging into that because whether it's painting or some sort of hobby or whatever, you can kind of fall into and out of love with different things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a worse person because you don't love something that you used to love.
Right.
So yeah, I think that those kind of conversations are really intriguing, and you definitely seem to kind of chip away at that idea of kind of self-reflection, self-growth, and kind of how that all weaves together.
Yeah. I've just been recently talking to people, as like certain friends as we're like approaching 40, and just like this reflection of like, it's no longer about the like physical appearance as much. I'm not going to say it's not about that at all, but it now is like, we're really shifting to this longevity.
Right.
Can I sustain this?
Yep.
And I think it'll be interesting to hear from people of, like if someone would ask me like, do you regret working out the way that I did all through my 20s into my 30s? And I would say, yes.
Sure.
I do regret it. I have physical consequences,
Right.
nervous system consequences because of those actions. And, like you said, like, yes, working out is so good for you. We should do it. It's not about that at all. But I think it's just like, a reflection back of like, what was its purpose? What was I using it for?
Right.
Where are we now? What do I want to use it for now? My motto, this is probably going to get some like heat. I don't know. My motto as I am back in the gym now, I'm back in the gym for like the last week.
Nice.
In agony.
Good job.
So much pain. That's a whole thing I
Right.
could talk about. So much pain, which I knew it was going to be, but wow.
Yeah.
My motto though is like, I'm going to work out like a normal person.
That's great.
I'm going to work out
Yeah.
like a normal person. Going to the gym for me, how I'm approaching it is going to be like, oh, it's something to do.
Right.
I'm going to go in and move my body. What do I feel like doing?
Yep.
How am I being safe? Like just, I'm normal. I'm going to be normal.
I feel like there's an inner dialogue there, or an inner discussion. Kind of be like, what am I actually trying to do here?
Yeah.
Do I need to punish myself, or do I need to like take
That's a
it to
whole
this
thing.
certain level?
That's a whole thing.
To achieve like what I'm actually trying to do here.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think, it seems like whether kind of consciously or subconsciously, like you do kind of gravitate towards people that have conversations that kind of all roads lead to grief.
Yeah. All roads lead to grief.
And not even in like a sad kind of like tears flowing kind of way, but I think perhaps like grief as like a moment to reflect, or kind of taking that time to care about yourself too, and to kind of understand what's happening. I think where I'm going with this is basically like scheduling people with passion, with things that you like, something that you're proud of. Like what else do you think you did well this year if we were going to do a performance review?
Okay. What else do I think I did well? The content was going to be my what went well.
I mean,
okay, let's see.
Like,
I'm gonna dig in. Okay, this is another thing that I think went well, is that when, my work schedule, my work schedule now is I work nights. Like I close and go to bed at 4 and wake up at 12, 1, whatever it is.
Yep.
And obviously when we need to record, especially for us, like we need light in certain times of the day. Like that's just a requirement.
Yes.
And so I think there can always be room for improvement, but I think I did a relatively good job of like being able to manage those like kind of conflicting schedules. There are times that it was difficult, and we were talking about this today. One of the challenges of this job is like there are days when, I'm just going through shit, and I'm sharing a lot of what that shit is on the podcast. So I think people can get a sense of like, some days are heavy, whatever it
You're
is.
human.
Yeah, exactly. And, in both of my roles as a podcast host and as a bartender requires a certain level of like, the show must go on.
Right. Put
It
the
doesn't,
game face on.
right. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just got to keep showing up.
Right.
And so I think I'm proud of myself for that. I think I did a good job of that.
I think deservedly so, considering that you were kind of branching into that profession at the time too.
Right.
So beyond just kind of like doing the thing and adjusting to the schedule, you were also kind of proving yourself and getting your footing in that world, which has gone well. But that was definitely something I would have kind of commended you on, or said that you did a great job with, is the commitment to the schedule and the programming, and just, really putting that forward. And thinking ahead, just to be like, we need to do the episodes here, there, we need to double up.
Yeah.
Because I want to release an episode every week, and people expect that of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good job.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Of course. The other edge of that sword or whatever, what do you think you can improve on? Where can things be done better, or whatever it might be?
I have one word for this.
Sure.
And it is TikTok.
Yep. That's very fair.
TikTok
Yeah, totally.
is the like axe that has been
Right.
hovering over my head
Yeah.
now for this entire year.
It is the final frontier.
It is the final frontier, and I'm so blocked. But I have a game plan.
Okay.
Because my sister works in corporate and works for in marketing.
Okay.
And she, like many women around this time, I believe, are kind of going through this pivotal season where the work that they're doing no longer is feeling fulfilled.
Okay.
Or that the
Sure.
work that they have been told will lead them to a certain life and a certain feeling
Yep.
is not measuring up to that.
Sure.
This is another theme I really want to explore this coming year too. And so she came to me and she's like, yeah, she's going to stay a corporate girly because that's where she feels safe. That's where she feels secure. And
Right.
that's what's important to her.
Respect. Yeah.
And absolutely. And then the same sense of that is she still wants to feel fulfilled creatively.
Yep.
Creatively. That's what I'm trying to say. In what she's interested in.
Right.
And so she came to me and she was like, let me manage
Amazing.
your TikTok.
That's really like what you needed. I
That's
think.
exactly what I needed, which is just another sign of like people come into your life. My sister comes into my life when I need her to.
But it is like being receptive to things and
Yeah.
kind of keeping open mind so that things can kind of present themselves to
Yeah.
you.
So it's on my list, and I need to schedule a business meeting with her,
That's wonderful.
and we need to get her working, and she's just gonna do the TikTok for me, and that hopefully will
That'll be great.
solve my challenge. But
It's
no,
at least
I think,
a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and what could have gone better always for me, there's like so many things, but around just like social media, just
Yeah.
content, like getting content out and creating content that people want to engage with
Right.
and stay longer than 1 second on their phone in a
Absolutely.
world where there's so much fucking content all the fucking time. It's
It's
tough. I know I'm not the only one out there who feels that way. Everyone with a business.
It's you're trying to make your voice heard over a chorus of a million people. I don't know, like, does that, I'm considering the idea of like people's attention spans and how like that is shifted into basically consider that you still do like a relatively long form podcast. Have you ever had like moments of self-reflection to be like, do people still want this, or how do I kind of evolve my own programming or the way that I do my show?
Yeah, I think that, since we moved to video this past year, the episodes are, almost at some points like cut in half in,
Right.
in terms of time wise.
Yep.
And so I think that has kind of just been my own adjustment of like, all right, we need to like this in a little bit shorter.
Right.
I personally don't see how they can be any fucking shorter.
Agreed.
Because
Yeah.
just what I want to achieve with it,
Totally.
with just a conversation and really feeling like you can, at least start to dip your toe into knowing someone. Of course, 30 minutes is not going to encapsulate an
Yeah,
entire
your point's
person,
taken
but
now. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. Like,
Sure.
what is it? The clips are shorter.
Yep.
The clip, maybe they're a little bit more. I don't know.
No, I know what you mean.
Like, I don't know yet.
There's like a fine line, I think, between like quality content, but also like volume of content.
Right.
And trying to figure out, kind of how much stuff do I just need to be getting out there versus, how thoughtfully do I need to create it?
I know.
But I do think that like all of that starts with having quality content in the first place to be able to slice it up and dice it.
Yeah.
And so doing kind of what you're doing is got to be the first place to start.
Right,
And
but
then
then-
you can kind of shear it off and go from there, as you're already doing.
Yeah, no, but that was like bringing up of like, yes, we've got like the podcast clips, right? And that's, I think, great for drawing people in. But then it's like, okay, well, you can also supplement that with like, what am I doing?
Right.
Am I then sharing more of
Yep.
my life on social media?
Right.
And like, this is a behind the scenes recording and this.
Exactly.
Like, sure, yeah, I could probably be doing all of that, which would help me.
Right. But you're also a woman.
Yeah.
And you also have a job and all these other things.
Yeah.
And it does start to like bridge the gap between like, I don't know, like a personal brand or kind of like a spokesperson, or people see you here in this environment conducting these interviews, but it is like another level to be, I don't know, doing outfits of the
vlogging.
day
Right,
or
right.
walk with me on the streets
Right.
of whatever.
Right. I don't know if I have that in me, to be so completely honest with you guys. Like, I don't know if I have that in me.
It is a certain type of person. I think that you also kind of have to want to do it, I think, for people
Yeah.
to feel like
Right.
the authenticity of it.
Right. I do think though that there's a kind of a line there that I think that I can probably just move a little closer to, where it's like sharing in, a genuine way of like what feels right,
Sure.
along with just like, I think that there's a way that I can improve upon that.
I think so
from
too.
A performance review.
And I think, you know, like we've talked about, like as you also become more personally capable with shooting and with feeling more, you know, able to kind of produce your own things.
Yeah.
That will certainly unlock opportunities as well.
That's true.
But yeah, I think, I don't know, that would be kind of the extent of my like performance review if I were.
Okay.
I felt like it's all gone really well, and I think that you have like such a good spirit and a good vision for it in terms of kind of where you want to take it, and of course like the commitment to doing so, and have cultivated like a really nice foundation through the years with all the people that love the show or whatever.
Yeah, thank you. So I would say if we were in my corporate job that I would have a meets expectations.
Sure. I think so.
I don't think I exceeded.
Yeah.
Exceeded is for, you know, you really, really went above and beyond. I don't think I'm that exceeded. I think fair enough is meets expectations.
I would feel like that's accurate.
All right, I'll take that.
You know,
I like that.
To set a goal and
Yep.
to work really hard to get there and to
Yep.
achieve it.
Yep.
I think that that's meeting the
Yes.
expectations
Yes.
that at least we talked about a long time ago.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this would be the point in the podcast where you would probably ask me,
Yep.
well, what does being fit mean to you? And I was
Sure.
thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how we always end it.
Mhm.
That's how I always end it with guests. That's how
As I was thinking too.
you would expect to end it with me. And I, like, while I was working last night, I was kind of thinking what I was saying. And what just kept coming up for me was, I don't want to answer this question.
Yeah. It's not the year.
But that leads me to even more questions of like, is there a possibility that we've outgrown that question?
Right. So it's a very valid point.
And then that will lead to me, if we've outgrown that question, have we like outgrown the name, the brand?
Right.
Like, is that, like, that's something that people have asked me about. Like, hey, would you ever rebrand it fully, you know, whatever? And I was like, it's not off the table for me.
It's really interesting because in all honesty, when I was formulating things that I wanted to talk to you about, I actually had thought about that, or asking you that question about that consideration. But it almost felt like a little like too close to home, or like a little deep to almost suggest that there could be a need or even like a consideration to do that.
And I think that if me arriving to the place where I was like, I don't want to answer that question myself.
Right.
If I don't even want to answer that question myself, then that's when I'm like, all right. And I don't know. I have no plan. I have no further thought. This is all like
totally
up in the air, but it's just like, yeah,
there,
that could
of course,
happen.
yeah, like there's a spur of the moment quality to this conversation, not like an Easter egg been waiting to be shared. But
right.
Part of me wondered if that, not the hesitation to ask that question, but almost just like, why would I engage with it again? Because I know the answer to it. Like, because you've kind of found out like what being fit means to yourself through the years of both asking that question, also hearing other people talk about it. And almost be like, to your point, you may have kind of outgrown certain aspects of that question because you know what that means to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting.
I know. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll
It's really
see.
cool.
We'll literally see. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
For the time being, there's a good formula and a good kind of road ahead, and I think a lot of inspiration and energy behind it. So
yeah,
it's really exciting.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
I appreciate you. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you. Literally thank you. I can't thank you enough.
It's good to be here with you. Thanks for letting me be part of it. And, here's to more episodes.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Chrissy Gurley and at What the Fit Podcast. Full video episodes will be available on Spotify and YouTube, so follow and subscribe. If you're loving What the Fit, please help spread the word. Send it to a friend, share it to your story, and if you're looking for even more exclusive content, become a Patreon member. You can find it at patreon.com/whatthefitpodcast.